studying your last two. I swim med when I tanden. Det styrer namn to mute. And can learn the pole that sunk he died.
Now let's begin our discussion of Schedule 8, which is used to calculate Canada Pension Plan, or CPP, contributions and identify any CPP overpayments for the tax year. The Canada Pension Plan is a government-sponsored pension program that helps provide financial support during retirement. In addition to retirement pensions, CPP also provides disability benefits, survivor benefits, and benefits for eligible children of contributors. Most individuals who earn employment or self-employment income in Canada contribute to this program during their working years. The illustration in the center of the slide shows how the system works. As an employee earns employment income, CPP contributions are usually deducted automatically from each paycheck by the employer. At the same time, the employer contributes an equal amount on behalf of the employee. These combined contributions are paid into the Canada Pension Plan Fund, where they help finance future retirement and other CPP benefits. Self-employed individuals also participate in the Canada Pension Plan. However, because they do not have an employer making matching contributions, they are generally responsible for paying both the employee and employer portions of CPP contributions. Schedule 8 helps calculate these amounts when preparing the tax return. The primary purpose of Schedule 8 is to verify that the correct CPP contributions have been made during the year. It reviews the contributions reported on the taxpayer's income records and determines whether additional CPP is payable or whether too much CPP has been contributed. An overpayment can happen in certain situations. One common example is when a taxpayer works for more than one employer during the year. Each employer may deduct CPP contributions independently without knowing about the deductions made by the other employer. As a result, the taxpayer may contribute more than the annual maximum allowed. When this happens, Schedule 8 calculates the overpayment, and the excess amount may be refunded or credited on the taxpayer's income tax return. As summarized in the cards at the bottom of the slide, the Canada Pension Plan is a retirement income program funded through contributions made by employees, employers, and self-employed individuals. Schedule 8 ensures that those contributions are calculated correctly and identifies any overpayments that may result in a refund. As a tax preparer, your responsibility is to collect accurate employment and self-employment information. Verify the CPP contributions reported on T4 slips and other records, and ensure that Schedule 8 has complete and accurate information. Once the data has been entered correctly, certified tax software performs the contribution and overpayment calculations automatically. Now let's walk through how Schedule 8 calculates Canada Pension Plan contributions and determines whether a taxpayer has made the correct contribution or has overpaid during the year. The process begins when an individual earns employment income. For most employees, CPP contributions are automatically deducted from each paycheck by their employer throughout the year. These deductions appear on the employee's pay stub and are later reported on the T4 slip. When it's time to prepare the income tax return, the CPP contributions reported on the T4 slip are transferred to Schedule 8. This schedule acts as a verification worksheet rather than simply accepting the amounts deducted by employers. Certified tax software then reviews several important pieces of information. It checks the total CPP contributions made during the year, applies the annual CPP contribution limits established for that tax year, considers contributions made through multiple employers if applicable, and calculates any additional CPP that may be required for self-employed income. After these checks are complete, one of two outcomes is possible. If the taxpayer has contributed the correct amount, No adjustment is required. However, if the taxpayer has contributed more than the maximum allowed, Schedule 8 identifies a CPP overpayment. This commonly happens when someone works for multiple employers during the same year, because each employer calculates CPP deductions independently without knowing about contributions deducted by the other employers. When an overpayment exists, the excess amount is automatically transferred to the taxpayer's T1 general return as a refundable credit. This may increase the taxpayer's overall refund or reduce the balance owing. As shown at the bottom of the slide, there is an important difference between these two situations. When CPP contributions are within the annual limit, everything remains unchanged. But when contributions exceed the annual maximum, the excess amount is generally refunded through the income tax return. There are also several key points to remember. Working for multiple employers can easily result in CPP overpayments. Self-employed individuals must generally pay both the employee and employer portions of CPP, so their calculations are different from those of employees. Certified tax software automatically applies the annual contribution limits and identifies any overpayments based on the information entered. As a tax preparer, your responsibility is to ensure that every T4 slip has been entered accurately. Verify the CPP contributions reported by each employer. Review any self-employment income, and carefully examine the results produced by Schedule 8. Although the software performs the calculations automatically, accurate data entry is essential to ensure that taxpayers receive any CPP refund or credit they are entitled to claim. Now let's see how Schedule 8 is completed in a professional tax preparation office using certified tax software. The process begins by collecting accurate information from the client. This includes every T4 slip received during the year, records of any self-employment income, CPP contribution details reported by employers, and any other CRA documents that may affect the CPP calculation. Collecting complete information at the beginning is essential because Schedule 8 relies entirely on the accuracy of these records. Once the information has been entered into certified tax software, the software automatically creates Schedule 8. It reads the CPP contributions reported on each T4 slip, calculates any CPP payable on self-employment income, applies the annual CPP contribution limits, and checks whether the taxpayer has contributed too much or too little during the year. If the taxpayer has made excess CPP contributions, the software automatically calculates the overpayment and transfers the refundable amount to the T1 general return. If additional CPP is payable, that amount is also calculated automatically and reflected on the tax return. This automation eliminates manual calculations and greatly reduces the chance of mathematical errors. Even though the calculations are automated, the responsibility for accuracy still belongs to the tax preparer. Before filing the return, carefully review every T4 slip. Verify that all CPP deductions have been entered correctly. Confirm all self-employment income has been reported, and examine the completed Schedule 8 to ensure the results are reasonable. There are several common mistakes that can affect the accuracy of Schedule 8. Missing a T4 slip means some CPP contributions may not be included. Entering incorrect CPP deduction amounts can lead to inaccurate calculations. Failing to report self-employment income may result in additional CPP not being calculated. Taxpayers with multiple employers should be reviewed carefully because they may qualify for a CPP overpayment refund. Finally, never assume the software is always correct without reviewing the final results. Before submitting the tax return, complete a final checklist. Make sure all T4 slips have been entered. Verify every CPP deduction. Review any self-employment income. Confirm that Schedule 8 has been generated successfully. Check for any CPP overpayment or additional CPP payable, and ensure the final amounts have been transferred correctly to the T1 general return. The most important lesson is this: Schedule 8 verifies Canada Pension Plan contributions and ensures the taxpayer pays exactly the amount required under the tax rules, no more and no less. Certified tax software performs the calculations automatically, but accurate data entry and careful professional review are what ensure every client receives the correct refund, credit, or assessment before the return is filed.